Welcome back to Marketing People Love. I am joined by Sean Frank, CEO of Ridge, who previously shared with us just how humbly Ridge started and what inspired him to build his brand. In this episode, we're going to be diving into what he sees next, not only for Ridge, but for the future of creating marketing that people love. This episode of Marketing People Love is brought to you by Ridge. I've been using my Ridge wallet for a few months now, and I can genuinely say I love mine. It is worth every penny that I invested in it. And while they almost never, ever do promo codes, I did twist Sean's arm to offer you all a code for listening. So if you use code MPL15, that's MPL15, you will save 15% right now at ridge.com. Let me ask you this, very curious. What gets you inspired now, right? You guys have seen a lot of success. There's probably not a lot of things that you have to do, right? It's like you get to do things. You have these opportunities. What's inspiring you today to build the brand?
Yeah, look, I hope this doesn't come off as, rude or out of touch to the audience or whatever. But, it's definitely not sales anymore. Like I remember the first days, I remember our first $100,000 day and like high-fiving people and running around and being so stoked. And I think maybe you just get numb to that over time, right? I remember our first $1 million day. And I think at large companies, just what happens, right? Like, Yeti does millions of dollars every single day. And like, it's not special, right? Because they have other stuff going on. So look, I look at profitability every day. I look at marketing performance every day. But at the end of the day, like the top line sales just doesn't matter. So that's not inspiring anymore. What I'm really inspired about is there's a car company called Hennessy Performance. Like they're very well known in the car world, but if that's not your hobby, you've probably never heard of them. They're based in Texas. They make hypercars. So like in the hypercar space, there's a company called Koenigsegg, right, or Pugani. They're the American version of that. But they're really well known for like modding cars. So like if you buy a Raptor, they'll put a crazy engine in it and whatever. And we're doing a collab with them next month. So like we're making a custom SKU that's going to be sold on their website and through our website, and we have one of their special cars showing up, and we're going to take a bunch of videos and photos, and we're going to give the car away to somebody, right? That's really cool and exciting to me, right? Because it's like I love the brand. I think there's awesome synergy there. I was able to like just call them up, they love the product, we were able to get something going, and doing way more stuff like that. I think we're going to work with Travis Matthew in the future. I think we're going to work with a bunch of great brands, and that's cool and exciting to me. That's like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm passionate about doing that type of stuff because it's just new and we've never done it before. I think any of the new product stuff we have coming out, I'm excited about that. Like I think I mentioned, we bought a content site. I'm going to buy way more content sites in the future. I think that's really cool and exciting. I jokingly made a tweet that I was going to buy BuzzFeed, but I might.
Yeah. I mean, hey, they make great content.
I mean, dude, it's so undervalued. They're currently valued at $200 million. And I'm like, I could probably line up the funding to take them private because they get billions of site views a year. If I just point those site views at Ridge Wallet, there you go. So anyway, stuff like that. The next evolution of a company, the stuff that you do when a company gets a little bit bigger and can take a little more risks, and you can remove yourself from just survival mode. That's what's driving me right now.
I love that. It's funny that you called out immediately the brand collaborations, because what I was thinking about this morning in the shower, in anticipation of this meeting, in our conversation was, man, one of the things that I think is so cool for brands is when they get to start collaborating with other brands and sort of like sharing audiences, amplifying audiences. And we've seen it with our clients over and over again that those collaborations, they just open new doors. They open new opportunities. And there's not really there's no way to lose in them. Cause like the worst case scenario is everyone has a great time. You have a great, this giving away of the car. It's like, there is no losing in this. There's only kind of a rising of all boats. And so I'm excited to see what it does for you all.
Oh yeah, and the ad blindness over time. It's the reason why rapid creative iteration is the only thing that's working right now on the paid media side, right? Like you guys make some of the best creative on earth, so you guys know that like it. the frequency dial has just been turned up. It's like I need way more of it. I need way more edits, way more cuts, whatever. And it's because, yeah, I mean, ad fatigue over time or whatever. So yeah, doing the collabs just gives you another angle, right? Like a new entry point to somebody's live.
I feel like every great brand marketer, anyone who's focused on brand, is paying attention, right? They're paying attention to what other brands are doing, not in a like competition way, but or maybe you are, but for me, I'm like, oh, there's enough for everyone. It's more of a you want to be constantly inspired, see what the pulse is, what people are responding to. And so, what are some of those brands that you look to, whether consciously or unconsciously, to get inspired?
Yeah, so I'm incredibly lucky that I have a group of brands around me that I get to talk to every day, right? So like if it's on Twitter or if it's I have a lot of text groups I'm in, and like they help me get better, right? So it's like I know the Buck Mason team, right? I
Yeah,
know the Cuts clothing team. I think they're competitors, but both those guys are very nice and help me out. There's a
yeah,
company called Hexclad that signed Gordon Ramsay, and like
yes,
they make really awesome cookware. Uh, I talk to them all the time, right? I've there's Mike from Simple Modern. So like this is like a localized group of friends, right? I can name all of them. They're all fantastic, and they
right.
help me every single day I talk to them.
Curious, what question? If you had one question you wanted to ask me, you know a little bit about the work we do and the journey we've been on. I'm curious, what would be on your mind in terms of questions?
Uh, Being creative repetitively on demand sounds like the hardest thing on earth. So where do you go to get inspired, right? Like
Oh
when you're
man,
writing new scripts or shooting new ads, it's like I mean, you have to do this professionally. That's the big
right,
difference, right? Like
right.
I could I don't have to be creative. I can write tweets and come up with ideas whenever I want. But like if you have a deadline, you have to shoot a commercial. So how are you doing that?
Totally. Well, okay. Obviously, you know this better than anyone, but we do have quite a team. So I'll just start there. So I do get very inspired by our team, the people we work with. They're some of the most brilliant and creative people. It's like I can't, every day I'm inspired. Like I can't not be inspired by the work that they're doing, the ideas they come up with, the things that we execute. It's like a constant feedback loop of like I get out of like hearing a script read and I'm like, holy crap, like how'd you come up with this? This is amazing. And then I'm on Slack and I'm getting behind the scenes like footage from another shoot happening, that day. Cause any given day we'll be doing 2, 3, 4 different shoots, right? All over our studio county. And so it's like, I'm inspired by the work. I will also say I spend so much time on like I don't know if it's an addiction or not. It probably is. So I'm not like proud of it. But I do spend a lot of time on social media, probably an hour a day minimum, some days 2 or 3 hours, depending on what's going on. And the way that I consume content is like basically, I'm the person that doesn't skip the ads, right? I'm the person that every time I get an ad, I'm like, oh, like, I'm paying attention to like how many views and the engagement of these ads. Like I'm like constantly, I feel like I'm like what Kobe Bryant must have felt like playing basketball and like feeling like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym at 4 a.m. because like I just love basketball. I'm like, oh shit, like I guess that's just how I live my life. Like everything I consume is inspiring to me. And so then when I see, to your point, like all the brands you just named, which must be like a mastermind group or something you're in, it's like those are all the brands, right, that I'm looking at, paying attention to. Clearly, they're striking a chord, they're successful. Those are all $50 million plus brands, heavily built on people loving the brand and the product, not just the product, but the brand as well. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like always paying attention. I've kind of over time had to learn to not judge myself for that. Like I said, because it can feel like, I mean, a lot of people are like, can't you just like consume social media and like kick back or not even consume it, just kick back and relax? And I'm like, I kind of like, it's my version of surfing. Like I like it. I'm surfing the web, right? So before we even think about sending our listeners off in any way, shape, or form, the one thing I know we share in common is that we both think about the future, not just think about the future. We're obsessed with the idea of what it's going to be, how to create it, how we can be part of it. I'd love for us both to just take a second and talk about what it is that we see when it comes to the future, the future of what it's going to take to create marketing people love. So we'll both take a shot here at like, what do you see? What are you prioritizing? And what are you thinking about? And I'll let you know what I'm thinking about.
Mr. Beast gets a 70% watch rate on a 30-minute video with 6 different ad breaks in it. And we are fighting to have somebody watch 5 seconds of our ads, right? So
Right.
the future of successful brands will be borrowing from what creators do, right? And there's a guy I bring up all the time called Goulet Pens, right? It's this guy, Brian. It's a fountain pen wholesaler, maker, whatever, right? He has a podcast, he has a YouTube channel, all this stuff just about fountain pens. And he's built a business that no one will ever be able to beat. Like,
Right.
I can't get into the fountain pen world and take his share away because he is the voice, the influencer, the authentic person in this entire industry. So I think brands that will do really well will have a version of that and own that. As attention gets more expensive, as people are sick of bad ads, or people, are spending different time on different platforms, if they end up being more paywalled, whatever, as CPMs go up, every impression needs to count so much more, right? And being able to keep people engaged, not just like inform them or not just get them to break a purchase, but be like, hey, no, this is actually good content. It's not bullshit. I'm not trying to trick you. It's like, here's an authentic, good piece of content. That's the future of advertising. And that's what all the big tech players want, right? We talk about advertising. Advertising is delivered through Facebook or TikTok or whatever else. And they would much rather charge, instead of $15 for 1,000 impressions, $15 per impression. The only way to get that to work is to make every impression incredibly impactful. And maybe the metaverse will force us into that level of thinking. But
no, I mean, I think you nailed that. I mean, I think about 2 things. I think about the fact that, we've seen it over and over again. We've seen it with the internet, right? If you just see, the history of the internet it's only been a proliferation of more and more and more content, more and more places to find it. Same thing with television. I mean, there used to be like 4 or 5 major stations, and then there was, 500 or 1,000 stations, and then people started doing Hulu and connected, YouTube TV and connected television. It's like, what's crazy to me now is like how fractured everything has become in terms, like, I mean, I could tell you the 10 TV shows that I watch in love or movies I've seen, and you could do that and we could be like, oh my gosh, we watched totally different shows somehow. Like, that was not the case even just 15, 20 years ago. And so to your point earlier, you mentioned that like, it's not going to be just about, as an advertiser, asking yourself, how do I make ads or marketing that asks something of someone? But first, how do I give them something worth consuming, and then also promote my product, right? The thing, ultimately, it's like, it's an exchange of, you're giving the audience something, you are giving them something to learn, something to laugh about, something to make their day in some way better. It's the equivalent of, we used to do 30-minute infomercials on television. We still do. Like, people, do infomercials, but like, you'd sit through a half an hour infomercial. Now we're just doing it in 3 minutes. And I think that that's just going to continue to kind of be the case, is like, whatever format it takes to take someone from not caring about the brand at all the way to, man, you gave me something of value. I can envision this brand or this product being part of my life, and then taking an action. That just continues to get shrunk down. It used to be that, it was done in person, then it was 30 minutes on TV, and then now it's 3 minutes through the internet, and then it's going to be a minute through the internet. It just continues to kind of force down how quickly can we move people through sort of that journey with our brand. And creators, naturally, they're not influencers, right? They're creators. There is a difference between the influencer and creator. What creators get is they fundamentally get that. They get that they need to give people something worth watching, and that the rest will take care of itself, right? And so it's like, as a brand, you're like, I need to make something worth buying, and then the rest will take care of itself, which is somewhat true, but I've seen a lot of brands that struggle even beyond that. But yeah, I couldn't agree more with that analysis of how you're seeing the marketing, considering it's going to, like, it may live on a platform that doesn't exist yet, right? Like, who knows in 5 years where people's attention are going to be. None of us know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and it's so interesting to think about like the end of cultural phenomenon, right? Like, maybe the last one was Game of Thrones or Stranger Things or whatever. Like, yeah, there's like any 10 people have a totally different content consumption,
Yep.
matrix, right? But what that lets marketers do is marketers can be the next cultural phenomenon, because we can force people to watch, hundreds of millions of people, right, to watch our ads, way more than we'll see any TV show nowadays because everything's so fragmented. So, yeah, the next cultural phenomenon will be some sort of ad placement, I think. Probably shot by you guys. So there you go.
I love it. Well, thanks for the final plug, and thank you for your time. Really appreciate you joining me today.
Awesome. Thank you.
So that's it for now. I have been your beloved host, Jacques Spitzer. Please make sure to subscribe, as we have exciting episodes coming up from the best brands in the game, including The North Face, Dr. Squatch, Lumi, Snapchat, ClickUp, Manscaped, and more. Marketing people love. I'm not going to redo that because that was great.